Treat your body like a high-performance race car. Treat it like your third iTero. Treat it like your third dental office with kid gloves and gentleness and nurturing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. I want to first thank the sponsors, both the Doc Sites and Dental Intelligence, for their support. And I also want to remind everybody about my event coming up in September 29th and 30th in Delray Beach, Florida. It's called Supercharge Your Dental Practice, a business and marketing boot camp. 18 speakers, 14 hours of CE. If you have interest in learning more, please go to superchargeyourdentalpractice.com and use the code RAVING, RAVING, to save $100 on registration. So today's guest is Uche Odiatu, and our topic is 3 reasons you must build a total health practice for tomorrow. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Uche Odiatu. Uche, thank you so much for joining me today.
I love sharing from the heart, and your listeners and viewers, it's exactly my target people. So I'm ready.
So let me quickly read your bio. You are all over the place. I mean, I always say this, you have to be living under a rock not to know who you are. You are at almost every event that's out there. Uche is a professional member of the American College of Sports Medicine and a practicing dentist in Toronto. He is also the author of The Miracle of Health. This busy healthcare professional is an NSCA certified personal trainer, a certified yoga instructor, certified boot camp instructor, and has given 500 plus lectures in England, Canada, the USA, the Bahamas, Denmark, Bermuda, and Norway. He has lectured at the ADA annual session 14 times since 2006. I want to repeat that. 14 times since 2006. He has been invited guest in over 400 radio and TV shows from Alaska to Atlanta and from New York City to California. So he's obviously been out there. I've given over 450 presentations, but I've only spoken at the ADA meeting twice. So to have you spoken there 14 times, that's amazing. So it shows that you're a very popular speaker who really has a different niche. You talk about things that the typical dentist doesn't talk about. So, but thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to spend the next half hour or so with you. So I think the first thing to do is kind of give your background, how you got involved in all this wellness stuff, gut health and everything else that we're going to be talking about. But how did you get started in your path down this road?
It starts with my parents. My mom was passionate about nutrition. She had no college, no university education, but she loved cooking healthy meals. But she didn't just, like most parents, say, eat this. She said, eat this because it's good for your brain. Have this morning because you have a track and field meet. And then I had my dad chirping. He was, maybe the Greeks talk about a sound mind and a sound body. My dad, even though he loved me doing homework, he had all these dreams of having all 4 kids go to college. But he said, you've studied enough, get your butt outside and play. So it started, I'd say, at age 6 and 7, and I've inextricably woven wellness into everything I do, whether it's dentistry, whether it's travel on a plane, whether it's red-eye flights, whether it's podcasts. I'm always thinking, how can I best support my physiology to have the best podcast? How can I best support my physiology having the best, 4 veneer preps today? So I'm at that Stephen Covey level of unconscious competence. So I do things in the flow. So people often have to stop me and say, Uche, why'd you do that? Or Uche, why did you drink that? Or why did you sit there on the plane? So this is where I am now. So you're going to kind of stop and say, hey, Michael Jordan, why'd you do that? Kobe Bryant, why'd you do that? Again, I'm liking myself with some pretty inspiring people. But that unconscious competence is a place where I think if you do want to have wellness unconsciously woven into your day, it's got to be the point that you don't have to think about it anymore. When you're actively measuring fiber and thinking macros and looking at your calories, it takes energy, and that's nowhere a dentist or a hygienist and assistant wants to be. It has to be natural. It has to be part of your cerebellum where, habits are permanently etched.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, someone like myself, and we had spoken in the past, I lost about 65 pounds back, and we had met, I think we sat and talked at one of the Greater New York meetings about that. And I've gained the weight back. I'm now trying to lose it again, but it's a mindset. And you are super busy, obviously. You are almost busier than I am. I'm on the road like 40 times a year. I find it just very hard to be able to get the mental mindset to be able to work that into my daily routine and make it part of life. You obviously have done that for many, many years. So I'm curious, and this is totally off the cuff here, but what advice do you give to someone who's in my situation, or just take a dentist who practices and just super busy? How do you get them to make the changes in their daily lifestyle to like, I know there's a commitment involved, but can you talk about how you go about kind of coaching somebody into life changes like this? I guess you can call it would be a great way to describe it.
Yeah, I love that question. I think dentists and hygienists, almost any dental professional is always into tactics. I want the hacks. Give me the short form. What's the best green tea? What's the most anti-inflammatory pasta I can eat? And I think if you do hacks rather than strategy, Sun Tzu in The Art of War said, if you just focus on tactics, you'll win the war. You need a strategy. You need a more global perspective. I think many smart people miss the global perspective. It's almost, Uche, what time do you eat breakfast? Uche, how much cardio do I need to do? That's just knowledge. That's just stuff. You can Google that. I'm all about brain, feeling, and then taking action. I think application is probably the most important part, and then consistent application. But there definitely has to be a shift in perspective, like looking at your body with the same reverence that you do your iTero. You wouldn't drag your iTero into the parking lot and just shove it into the trunk and let it sit in the sun. But dentists treat their body like an afterthought. They would never treat their electric handpiece like an afterthought. You would never treat your CIRAC like an afterthought. So the whole idea is anyone who wants to make fitness unconsciously competent, you need to develop a deep reverence for the body and treat it as good or better than the most expensive thing in your office. Your digital pan, $90,000. Like, people just dump in fast food. They dump 4 cups of coffee, whipped cream, maraschino cherry, and they wonder why things are sputtering and they have no juice when they get home. So developing a reverence for the body, and that can take a while, but it's a shift in how you look at it. It's like, treat your body like a high-performance race car. Treat it like your third iTero. Treat it like your third dental office, like with kit gloves and gentleness and nurturing.
Interesting. So can you give the listeners and viewers, because it is being shown on YouTube as well, can you give them an idea what your day looks like? Obviously, you have a very much a fitness lifestyle. So can you just kind of run through a typical day for you?
Yeah, great question. I think, and again, Stephen Covey talks about 4 levels of becoming unconsciously competent. The first one is you don't know what's going on. You're bad at it. Second one, you're horrible at something and now you know. And then the third level where people are trying is conscious competence, weighing food, looking at your salad, calling your coach, calling your accountability partners, got the 12-step program. But the fourth level, unconscious competence, you're in the flow. So I'm going to Italy for the Italian National Dental Conference. And I have certain automatic systems in place to maintain myself from getting jet lag. I'll pack certain things. I'll take certain things in my carry-on, something in my computer bag, something in another bag. I don't longer bring runners or sneakers on a trip. I bring little deck shoes, which are flat and small. I can fit into my carry-on. So I have so many things I do automatically now, but I'm glad you're stopping and starting me. But if you ever look at, people talk about posture being important, but when you look at gymnasts at the Olympics, before they're ready to go on, they're slouched back with horrible posture. You're like, Uche, I thought you said posture was important. Well, when you're incredibly fit, you can have horrible posture because your body doesn't fall apart having horrible posture if the body's super fit. So the whole idea being is much of life is off balance. People say I get up at 5, go to work at this time, I have lunch. Well, how about Friday, Saturday, Sunday when you don't work, and all things go out the window? Matthew Walker, the neuroscientist, said we should be going to bed and getting up at the same time every day if you want a good brain. I don't do that. And I think most people think you have to do everything to be fit and healthy and well. I've never tried it. Maybe once. I've infrared sauna once. Cold plunge, want nothing to do with it. I'm in Canada. Living in Canada is my cold plunge, So I can have youthful growth hormone, lots of testosterone, good quality muscle without ever doing a cold plunge. And people say, Dr. Odiatu, I can't believe you don't do cold plunge. I don't know. I've been working out for 40 years. I eat a salad every day. I do yoga. I do interval training. Cold plunge is like a little bit of an add-on. My growth hormone comes, and 80% of it comes from deep sleep. If you're not sleeping deep every night, I don't care how much cold plunge you're doing, growth hormone dopamine won't be part of your daily habits. So a lot of my day is in the flow. So I get up at different times. I eat at different times. Sometimes I miss breakfast. Sometimes I have it. But when you're eating healthy, timing is not so important, if that makes sense. But I'm glad that question, though. But so my whole day, every day is a little different. But that level of unconscious competence, though, is a big background program always running. Okay, so we'll keep the questions going, but I like that though. So I don't have a consistent day.
But do you plan your day ahead of time, or do you just go with the flow and however it plays out? That's how you do it.
Yeah, well, nighttime, a sleep mask. I have an eye mask I put on. I have one beside my bed. I have one in my carry-on. I have a spare in a gym bag. So that's like a consistent guarantee. I just switched from having white sheets all the time to dark gray or black sheets. Sleep scientists say, people talk about eye mask and not getting light on your eye after 2 hours after sundown, but we have just as many receptors for light in our skin. So you could have a sleep mask on in a bright room and think, oh, I blocked out light, but your skin knows it's still noon, So I just started experimenting. Here I am at this point in my life. I just ordered these really nice bamboo sheets, dark gray. So I'm not going to get any more light stimulation from my sheets. So I love trying different things. I add them on. I don't think I'll ever go back to white sheets, but think every hotel you and I are in, what color are the sheets?
White.
People in hotel rooms never sleep great on the road. I know so many consultants and lecturers say, oh, on the road, I fall off the wagon. Well, it could be the fact that 7-8 hours every night on the road, your brain thinks it's noon because you're sleeping in white sheets. So this is all new stuff. So I have some must-dos. I eat fruit. I eat vegetables. I say 90% of the meat I eat is hormone-free, grass-fed, and raised without antibiotics. I'm not afraid of fruit. I have a bag of nuts in my car, some unsalted almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. That's my go-to snack anytime. I have a predictable 22-minute drive home from work, but also in a traffic delay or a fatality on the road, I'm in traffic for an hour. I don't want to arrive home famished. So this bag of Ziploc nuts is almost without arm's reach because I'll be snacking on them just because I'm bored. But I'll pull them out, and now I'm taking the edge off my hunger so I don't come home and stick my head in the fridge and grab that, tequila and start slamming it back. Like I really want to arrive home running, So my second win now, my friends, my family get a good Uche, not an exhausted Uche. So many dentists, we bill 10 grand a day. We give everything at work. We have nothing at home. Our friends get like afterthoughts. They get the fumes of Red Bull and other energy drinks. So there you have it. It's an eclectic day, but the background system ever on is wellness and treating the body like a high performance race car.
Really interesting to hear that. So when I had mentioned that we had spoken, we were at the hotel, the Westin in Times Square, and we sat and we chatted for a little bit, in the restaurant. And you had told me that you were working on a new topic that you were really focused on. That was gut health. And that's been you said this is the biggest thing out there for people. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of gut health? Because it's a big hot topic nowadays.
I started looking into this back about 10 years ago. The National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, one of the most prestige research institutes in America is in Maryland. And they finished the first phase in 2012. And what came of that, they said what they found out about the microbiome, the human microbiome, the 42 trillion cells that call you and I home. These are our symbiotic travelers that most people have no idea what they are. They said this is going to shake the foundation of medicine and shake the foundation of nutrition. So that being said, I've woven this research and reading into every program I've done. It used to be just a slide in my deck. And now I have a full day. It's called Gut Health, what every dental professional needs to know. And there's so many parts of that. Just to give you an idea, I like to start with the global perspective. People think, I take a probiotic. That's a small part of gut health. When you look at the background of the Earth, the Earth is 5 billion years old. Bacteria was the first life form. So single-celled organisms were the first life form. So they came around 4 billion years ago. So a billion years, there was no life at all. Then single-celled organisms, 4 billion years ago. So bacteria have been on the planet for 4 billion years. They were here before the dinosaur. They were here before the jellyfish, which are 600 million years ago. Mankind, depending on theory of creation, is it 12,000? Is it recorded history? Little Lucy fell out of the tree and died 3 million years ago. So humanity, we think we're very resilient. We're a small blip in the history of bacteria. Bacteria call us home because we're useful to them. So the challenge is, though, if Putin presses that button and the world is leveled because we do counter strikes, guess who's going to be here after nuclear war? Bacteria. Bacteria are responsible for 40% of the circulating metabolites in your and my body. So that being said, if we ignore our bacteria, life is hell. Brain fog, accelerated aging. We look like our driver's license picture. But if we feed them what they want, we rest them the way they want, we pace out our meals, and we move, guess what? Those very successful organisms, which have on the planet for 4 billion years, will treat us well. And we think, I'm smart. I've been to Harvard or I've been to Stanford. Well, bacteria have never been to school. They don't have a brain, but they have something called a consciousness. And they know when you're not going to bed on time. Pathogenic flora thrive when someone's anxious and angry. So that's why you can have an upset stomach when you're angry. This is your 3 pounds of bacteria, your E. coli going, yeah, keep that resentment. Don't talk to your brother for another 10 years. But the beneficial flora love it when you sleep, and they love it when you nasal breathe. They love it when you feed them fiber. So many people are stoking disease and they don't know why. But I could say you can really strategically start stoking your good flora and really live an elegant life and a life full of enthusiasm and mental clarity and good metabolism. It's so powerful. I every one of my programs gets a little bit of gut health, but I do have a 6-hour program. This is my thing. And think, Uche, why a dentist? Well, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. Which healing profession, which healthcare provider is in charge of the entrance to the gut? Yeah, that's us, dentists, hygienists, assistants. We're in charge. So we're in charge of the gateway. So poor quality teeth, dry mouth, TMD, guess what? Poor food choices, food going down in bigger pieces, gut having a harder time chew it up. So I really stress with patients by giving you more teeth to chew on and looking at why you might have xerostomia and getting your jaw back to good physiological functioning. You can chew, digest, and absorb nutrients and slow down healing. Have a better knee than someone with 4 teeth. Have a better knee than someone with dry mouth. And now I get patients leaning in without asking me for my references. They just say, Doc, fix that lower quadrant. I want to chew as good as you so I can digest and absorb nutrients. So in a nutshell, there you go.
So, that's all fascinating stuff. And it's such a hot topic nowadays. How does somebody who's listening to this or seeing you in giving one of your seminars, how does it relate back to dental practice? How do they bring this into the dental practice and become a total health practice?
As dentists, when we talk to physicians always think, oh, you make teeth white, you close gaps, you pull teeth out. Physicians think they're here, dentists down here. Well, dentists, doctore, we teach, right? We're oral physicians, hygienists. You're the masters of prevention. Medicine doesn't do prevention. You go to a doctor's office, it's treatment, surgery, prescription. You go to a dental office, we have prevention and treatment. We really do already treat the body from head to toe. But patients love it when you word wellness. When I say something, and I remember I was in C1 or E1 of Pankey back about 15 years ago, and Pankey on the screen, he had passed away, said patients do not leave their sleeping habits, their marriages, their jobs, and their diets in the car when they come into your office. Most dentists, they'll pull a tooth out of someone that's been up all night. They will do an implant on someone that's going through a bad divorce. They will wonder why a person is bleeding like crazy, and they don't realize it's because they have inflammation from higher levels of having a BMI or being overweight. So unless we start realizing your patient doesn't leave the marriage, the job, their food habits, their exercise in the car. And a hygienist, when you do you update the medical history. A hygienist will say, any changes in your medical history? Patients go, no. Meanwhile, they're shift working, they're going through a bad divorce, and they love Pop-Tarts. So if that doesn't come up, you're wondering why there's all this bleeding. Hey, they're on shift work. They love Pop-Tarts. They're going through a horrible divorce. So their cleaning habits will have a small part to play. The background level is inflammation. So unless you understand that bacteria basically make the most potent anti-inflammatory agent in your body called short-chain fatty acids, we'll never talk gut health. But I talk about food and nutrition, and patients love it. I have all kinds of books on my reading list, and patients love it. Patients have no way to decide what book they should read, but they trust us as dentists. They trust us as hygienists, and they want to know, what are you reading, Doc? Oh, best book I ever read on nutrition, Diet Myth by Tim Spector. Dr. Odiatu, I love it. I learn something new every day. And then you have this booming, thriving, new patient-infused practice. People can't get enough of you. And then you'll put all your clinical skills, you'll do the implants, you'll do the composites, but you need new people in the chair raving fans about you, because I love that passed along value of information they haven't heard before. They're going to learn stuff talking to me during my recare exam and talking to the hygienist that they can't find on a Google search. And that's when you get people raving fans. You got to see Dr. Odiatu. I learn something new every time. And now they're you don't need Google reviews when you have patients championing what they learned that day.
How do you pass this passion? Look, you're in a world of its own. You're so up here with passion. You can hear in the way you talk about it. It's almost how I talk about online reviews and stuff. When we're passionate about something, it kind of becomes who we are. How do you pass that off to, look, you obviously know a dentist can't do this on their own. You have to have the team involvement. You have to have the hygienist buy-in. You have to have the whole team that's behind you. What's the best way to get them on board in this situation like this?
Well, you and I both know whenever a dentist goes to a a course on implants, if the dentist goes to COIS and no one in the office goes, it's really hard to implement COIS if your office manager, your assistant, and hygienist don't go. You go to learn some new practice management strategy and the office manager goes. Guess what? The office manager goes to ADOM, the dentist doesn't go. Again, he finds it hard to implement. So you need whole team learning. And I think a lot of my programs are all team. But again, maybe 15% dentist, 85% team. Guess what? It may not happen. The dentist has to see that learning intangibles, learning about oral systemic link, learning about nutrition and wellness is a buzzword which has a productivity benefit. Because anytime you add wellness to something, everyone's ears eye open. When you think of, and I'm not being sexist, but when you think of who books the appointment for dentists, is it men or women? Who calls the office to book appointments? Notoriously, it's women, right? 85, 90% women call. Men never call unless by accident. They think it's Home Depot as a tire sale. So it's women. Women are the keepers of prevention, in terms of they spend about 85% of the household income in terms of what's going on. So I'm very much interested in community and health and systems. As men, I'm being sexist, a little bit Andrew Tate here. We pick the lawnmower and maybe we choose the car, but we never choose the color. So that being said, we have to somehow be friendly to that wellness voice. And that wellness ear is the dentist, the hygienist, assistant. You need all teams learning this information. And now I get dentists coming to my program because they have sciatica or she's got reflux. And Dr. Odiatu, I should have come to this 40 years ago. Yeah, it's fine coming now, but at 55, it's a little late, but we can still make some inroads. But she's saying, I can't believe how much wellness has to do with chairside conversation. I thought wellness is all about having a six-pack and looking good at your college reunion. I said, no. It's about weaving nutrition, weaving why you got to restore that arch, why you need an implant in that second molar area to chew better and absorb food better. She goes, and they always say, I can't believe there's more clinical impact in your talk than just wellness. People think wellness is a soft course. It's hard course. It's a practice builder. It convinces people to say yes to treatment plans.
It's funny. You mentioned in this last couple of seconds you were talking about how it's hard to implement something if the whole team doesn't come. And I've been someone who's been, I talk about marketing, so I don't talk clinical at all. But it's amazing to me that, part of what I talk about is taking action at my seminars. And when you have a team member and no doctor, or doctor and no team member there, it's impossible to get them to take action because there's a disjointment there. So I'm a firm believer in this whole team type of education, but it doesn't, when you go to an ADA meeting, there's stuff that's specifically for the doctors and there's stuff specifically for the team. There is very little whole team training that's even available at these meetings. It's always, and a lot of times the teams split up. Yeah. They want to conquer like 5 different sessions. That's not great for bringing it back to the office to actually implement, in my opinion.
No, I get that. I say teams that learn together, stay together. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's not just for a Stephen Covey, picture on your wall. But I really think that team tracks, and then dentists go, when dentist hears the word team track, she thinks of, I'll send my hygienist, and office manager, and assistant. Team means you need the quarterback, you need the defensive end. So yep. You'd be surprised how easy it is to implement something when you have passion. When you think of Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins or Tony Little or Tony Horton at P90X, you got to talk with sizzle. I think a lot of dentists are so cerebrally driven. They memorize stuff. They have 5 parts to wellness, 3 parts to practice management, or 2 parts to my soft tissue management program. It's got to be eclectic. Patients don't know what we know. They zone out when you start talking about, anaerobic bacteria and gram-negative this and what's soft tissue management. So we need to get conversational. I think when you start putting it into your life, it rolls off your tongue easier. I speak with a lot of conviction because I am this. I am an avocado. I wear the orange glasses. I put the sleep mask on the red eye with my noise-canceling headphones. It's become inextricably woven into every part of my travel life. When I do the new patient exam, I'm talking not just do you snore. I'm saying how long a lot of people think, I sleep 7 hours a night. That's probably how much time you spend in bed. But how much time do you really sleep? It's probably about 5 because it takes them an hour to get to sleep and they wake up for 2 30-minute sessions. So you got to, talking chair side happens and it rolls off your tongue and it's very convincing when I'm living it. When I'm not living it, when it's memorized or I've got all these cue cards and notches, guess what? It comes across a little fake and patients go, yeah, thanks. Just clean my teeth. I have a wedding. No. What we're doing today is that hygienist is going to lower your inflammatory burden. When we lower your inflammatory burden, your immune system can be more effective at possibly healing your meniscus. What? You mean my knee might get better because I'm getting my teeth cleaned? Yeah, because teeth cleaning, we lower your inflammatory burden. Now the immune system is not working 24 hours a day, killing the bacteria around that impacted tooth, which you haven't taken out since 20 years. Your immune system now can spend the energy healing and integrating around your $4,000 implant. You mean my implant might integrate better because my teeth again? Yeah. So I'm going to have you come in 3 or 4 times a year, not just 6 months. Every 6 months is for the teenage boy with no fillings. You're a 50-year-old real estate agent with 2 implants. You invested $15,000 in your mouth. I want you in every 3 months as part of the investment to this Ferrari called high-tech dentistry. Patients go, that makes sense to me. When I take my Ferrari in, I go to a certain mechanic. You are my Ferrari mechanic. Yeah. Our office is going to take care of your high performance mouth. And that's all not rehearsed. That's just me weaving those words into the conversation, which makes it very convincing, is very convincing.
So we have a limited time left, but I had one last question I was curious about, and then we'll go into my Q&A, and then we'll find out where you're going to be in the near future. But the question I had for you is, and it's a common question that I hear from other people, is what about taking supplements? What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's tactics. That's, that's biohacks. Biohacks are very attractive. You Google what's the best source of melatonin and how about redox supplements and what's the best, supplement, shelf, stable, or in the fridge. And again, it's a hack. And you and I know, we've seen the stats. If someone doesn't have a millionaire mindset, but they win $50 million, within 2 years, 80% of people lose all that money because they never felt deserving. They never actually had $1 million mindset. So supplements are like a lottery ticket. You get this winner and you put it into this body that's not ready for the perfect probiotic or the perfect, hormone-free meat, and the body doesn't do well and it doesn't stay with you and it doesn't linger. So I think food is best, whole food. I think managing our breath and getting into the fact that mouth breathing is toxic and supports dementia. Sleep is foundational. If people talk about a probiotic, but they're still staying up to 2:00 in the morning, they go to bed at 11, get up at 7, go to bed at midnight, get up at 8. That'll do more for the growth hormone and putting out inflammation than taking. Is ibuprofen a good something to take every day? Because I heard it less likely to have chronic inflammation. So I'm all about foundational principles. And I think a lot of the coaches in the NBA and the NHL, Pat Riley and Wooden and Madden, talk fundamentals. Kobe Bryant, fundamentals. Michael Jordan, fundamentals. So I'm more about fundamentals than fringe stuff. Michael Jordan just practiced 2 hours a day his free throws and his 3-point throws. Fundamentals is where I stand with, and that's what's going to get people through a financial storm, an emotional storm, a physical storm, being heavily invested in the fundamentals.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to spend the next 3 or 4 minutes reading some of these questions on here. It's all business-related stuff. So we'll have a little fun. Uche, real short answers. You don't have to go into long, drawn stuff here, okay? Sure. What is the most common reason for people failing or giving up?
Lack of a long-term vision. They have a short-term vision only. And they lack a long-term vision. They lack a long-term vision of how they want to look and feel. So not a long-term vision is going to definitely support people falling off the wagon.
What mindsets have helped make you successful?
I'm a curious man. People say, Uche, I heard you were this age. Why do you have the physiology and the energy of someone half? I'm curious. I take courses. I read a book every 3 or 4 weeks. I hang around with people 10, 20 years younger because that's the age that I resonate with. So I stay curious. I invest heavily in my energy, and I'm always learning. If you ever hear me say, been there, done that, I'm probably just about a minute before I go 6 feet under. So having a curious mind is part of my ongoing background system that's ongoing.
Here's a tough one. People always have a struggle with this one, so I'm curious your answer on this one. If you had to open up a lemonade stand tomorrow, what would you call your stand?
The anti-aging lemonade stand, because everyone's worried about aging, so anti-aging lemonade, half off would be my, and then I'd be probably selling it with just my shorts on, I guess. So
that's good. All right.
So that's my deal.
What deserves all of your attention but seldom?
I have 4 kids. I love them dearly. A big part of them seeing that life and career and work is fun is that I've taken a few of them on the road with me during lectures, and they can't believe that you can earn money telling stories. But I'd like to spend 24 hours a day with them, but there'll be no money to help pay for their school and their courses. So part of that is I'd like to give them more attention, but the way I draw the kids in is I share with them stories in my slideshow. And I tell them, oh, I talked about your dance today or in New York City. So they deserve more attention, but I believe quality and time. But that being said, Theo, my 8-year-old, and I, we have crazy fun, making lemonade and being goofy running around the house. And that being said, my 17-year-old daughter has come with me 5 times to lectures and sat in my audience. She still shakes her head going, Dad, people take notes when you talk. I can't believe it. So that's my answer.
That's good. I think that's great. So do you keep a journal and does it help you?
I have lots of notes on my phone. So I have an iPhone. I have about maybe, 489? I have 489 pages, different notes. So something goes in seminar needed to be added on. Something goes into inflammations. I take notes on everything I'm reading. So my current book right now is Outlive by Peter Attai, medical doctor. So I just started listening to that 2 days ago. So, but I don't keep a day-to-day journal, but I definitely look at the notes in my phone and review something I've read. So I'm always writing notes or dictating them when I drive.
Okay. When you were a kid, what was the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up?
I kept thinking I was going to be an international businessman. I kept thinking this international man of mystery, this international man of travel. So my mantra is this global, somehow globally impacting the world. And I remember in dental school, I kept telling everyone, I want to work 8 weeks and travel 1 week, or work a little bit and travel. And everyone kept saying, how are you going to do that? Well, I've somehow, because my background mantra has been, I had a long-term perspective of how I wanted to look, but I didn't have to say exactly how I'm going to do it. I always think God figures it out way better than we do. When we say, this is what I want, God goes, wow, I could have times it by 10. So work, travel. And now I've blended work and travel and fun together. So Italy, I'm getting this award. It's called a Doctor to Doctor Award. One of my connections is through Dublin. My mom is Irish, so I'm seeing people I haven't met ever in Dublin. So I've woven work and travel inextricably into everything I do. So, so an international man of business was my thing.
That's great. What would you like to see on your resume in 2 years that isn't there yet?
I've co-authored 2 books. I want to do a book. The ADA has talked to me about doing a book on some of the mouth-body-mind connection ideas I have. So a book I definitely want on, latest bestseller. And not just in dental. I think a lot of the things I say would be great for hedge fund managers who want to maximize their performance. I could see Richard Branson say, these are my 5 vice presidents. Could I fly you into Necker Island and do hacking into the body's genius and becoming more productive? So it's not just dental my stuff is doing. I think I could definitely work with hedge fund managers or some other highly functioning people. So that would be 2. So write another book, talk to people outside of dentistry more. I've done it already with banking. I don't know, I was talking about competing in bodybuilding again. I competed maybe 30 years ago. I was thinking of doing a master's bodybuilding competition. So those are 3 pretty daunting goals. And what Cordone would say, times it by 10. And God would say, hey, times it by 100. You're still playing small. So it looks daunting to me. God would laugh and go, oh, poor Uche, he's not tapped into his genius yet. And Cordone would say, times it by 10.
That's awesome. Last question from me on this is, what is one subscription that you cannot live without?
What do I get? You know what? It's funny. I love medicine, but also a big believer in homeopathy. I have a naturopathic doctor or an osteopath as well as a medical doctor. And believe something I do every month. There's a cream I put on, and it's a homeopathic cream. And supposedly it helps support growth hormone. It's not prescription. It isn't growth hormone. It just allows them, it supports youthful. And it's one thing I've actually used for the last 5 years. So that's one thing that comes to my house every month. So,
all right, cool. All right, that's awesome. All right, so I know you have a couple of events coming up that you wanted to talk about. So why don't you talk about that and then provide people a way to reach out to you if they have any questions regarding anything they heard in this episode.
Okay, I'm ADA, SmileCon. It's been reinvented. I'm doing, I think, 4 talks. I'm doing a 2-hour cooking show in the trade show. So we're going to have a hot plate and blender. We're going to be cooking up ingredients and showing people how to make 5-minute meals that are good, that are biome friendly. And this is all part of that health begins with dentists and hygienists. All disease begins in the gut. So there's about 4 talks there in Orlando in October. August, my friend, you and I have a friend in common, Dr. Craig Spodak from the Spodak Dental Group, neat guy. Again, I'm doing his Bulletproof Conference at the Wynn. I've never stayed at the Wynn, but I know it's like a 5+ star hotel in Vegas. And just in Italy, which was never lecture. Actually, I did lecture in Denmark and Norway, but getting into the continent there, Italy is a place that I've always wanted to go. It's funny, I've been doing that, been dentist now for over 25 years. And this year, I finally won 3 awards. So not that I need validation, but It took like 20 years to get some awards going. But anyway, it's nice to be acknowledged. It feels good. I don't need it, but it feels good on my, my little four-chambered heart.
And you also have you have an event coming out, a 3-day retreat as well, don't you?
Yeah, in October. So it's a Fit Body, Calm Mind, Inspired Practice. So it's going to be in Toronto, mid-October. It's going to be small, only 50 to 60 people. So we want couples to come or a family to come or a team to come. Don't come on your own. You will not bring anything back. So Fit Body, Calm Mind, Inspired Practice, mid-October. They can contact me for details. So it's going to be mind-blowing in terms of how it's going to be able to shift a perception for any couple or team that want to learn more how to intimately weave this into every conversation in their practice.
And what's the best way someone can reach out to you and get information on this stuff?
I often give my phone number out. I don't mind being vulnerable, but I can hold back a bit. But Instagram, I answer all my DMs myself. So Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Those are 3 ways I answer my own messages. As you and I say, we're a hands-on people. So my account, Fit Speakers. So it's the same thing on Twitter, same thing on Instagram. But yeah, direct message me. I love hearing back from people because it gives me an idea what people want to hear. I think many speakers, we have this prepared speech and we give it, but how do you hit all 1,000 people in their hearts and minds unless you know what people want to know more about? So when I get questions, I think, oh my God, now I have my finger on the pulse. So I love hearing from people. I love that one-on-one, direct, behind the scenes, the Oprah after the show style of question answer. So I'm there.
Well, this was great. You're definitely passionate about the topics you like talking about. You're like me in that sense. And I love seeing it come out in the podcast. So thank you so much for joining me today, Uche. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you like this episode, you want more information about what Uche is doing, his retreat, 3-day retreat in Toronto, please reach out. His Fit Speakers is on Instagram and Twitter. So please feel free to DM him. As he said, he'll get back to you. But if you like the episode, please tell your colleague. Please tell them about the Raving Patients Podcast. We come out weekly at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love doing this. I appreciate the sponsor support, both the doc sites and Dental and Tel. Don't forget about my event, September 29th and 30th at the Opal Grand Resort in Delray Beach, called Supercharge Your Dental Practice. And as I end all of my episodes, please remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, Uche, thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll talk to everyone soon.